You know, with all the stuff coming back, hockey starting, we have the actual season going on here, we have games to look forward to now in the NHL. It's difficult to put a focus on all the other things in the hockey world, because for the longest time now, ever since the end of, September pretty much, we've been making hockey videos about prospects, about updates from other stuff around the hockey world that's not NHL related. And now that the NHL's back, hey, it's a little bit easier to take the spotlight away from the things that we were talking about before. And this is a video going over some of these guys that indeed were stars of the offseason that we would talk about quite regularly, and that still deserve to have their names mentioned on this YouTube channel, in my opinion. So, let's go over to Wisconsin and talk about the University of Wisconsin Badgers, who had just recently kicked off the resumption of their 2020-2021 season. Now, before we even get into this discussion, we spoke about the Wisconsin Badgers last time because what they had for their 2020-2021 schedule was a very limited amount of games. They had 12 games scheduled for the entire season, and that was about it. From the start of November to about mid-December or so, we had scheduled Wisconsin Badgers games, and we had nothing else after that. In fact, the last two games, the Michigan State duo on December 8th and 9th, actually got postponed. So for a good portion of this year, we only really had 10 games played of Badgers hockey. We had a big break, firstly because of the virus having its due course in the US of A, and stopping a whole bunch of NCAA programs from actually competing in the ways that they were expected to before this virus struck. And we also had a big tournament called the World Juniors, where two of the top Badgers players on their roster, Dylan Holloway and Cole Caufield, were both representing their nations. In fact, they met in the finals, where Cole Caufield, his Team USA, ended up winning. Yeah, you don't need me to remind you what happened here, don't I? But both of these guys are back in Wisconsin now, and with a new revitalized schedule, we have ourselves what has been a very good return to the Badgers NCAA scene, especially for these two prospects. So let's go over Cole Caufield, 15th overall pick by the Montreal Canadiens at the 2019 NHL entry draft, and let's go over Dylan Holloway, a guy who was taken in the next year's draft, 14th overall by the Oilers. So they're 1 year apart in terms of the draft, and they were both taken in the mid-teens, one by Edmonton and one by the Montreal Canadiens. So, before we touch on all that, let's go over the revived University of Wisconsin Badgers schedule. They have games going on until March now. Take a look at this. After the break at the end of 2020, we had ourselves 2 games on January 9th and 10th. Then we had a postponed game with Arizona State on January 15th. It was actually moved to Saturday, Sunday, which is just what happened last night. We also had ourselves a big overload of what's going to come. The 21st and the 22nd against Penn State, the 29th and the 30th against Michigan State, Minnesota, Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan State. Games going on every weekend pretty much for the Wisconsin Badgers, which will put their total games played, because right now, if you count everything up, they're at a total of 14 games played at the moment, and they have about 14 more games to play. So we're looking at around a 28-point schedule for this league, and that is honestly a lot better than what we were looking at back in 2020 before the season ended up pausing up. But for Dylan Holloway and Cole Caufield, these guys both got off to hot starts, especially building off of what was that crazy World Juniors that we saw. The Badgers started off hot against the Minnesota Golden Gophers, winning their first game back 3-1. In fact, it was the very first goal scored back from the break, assisted by Cole Caufield here. He throws it up to Tarek Baker, who's in the neutral zone. He finds Linus Weissbach, who comes in, he shoots, and he scores. Not a big amount of work that Caufield has to do, but he still gets a point. And then the next night, we saw ourselves Wisconsin kind of falter a little bit. They scored 3 goals again, but they allowed 5 this time as they lost to Minnesota. Cole Caufield actually gets his first goal returning to the red and white a little bit after that third period started, trying to bring the Badgers back, putting the score within 1. It wasn't enough though, as the Badgers ended up losing, but hey, still Caufield coming back here with 1 point, 1 assist in the 2 games that he played, fresh off of the coattails of a World Juniors Championship gold. Then we go over onto what happened this weekend. Against the Arizona State Sun Devils, you had yourselves a 4-0 win, kicking things off on Saturday night, and this one was pretty great because Dylan Holloway got an assist on Josh S.'s goal. While the team has possession, he gets the puck over on the left side, he comes in, he rips it, and it's in the back of the net. That's Dylan Holloway's first point in a while. It's been a very long time, and if you've been watching the Badgers and Dylan Holloway in his situation, you know exactly what's been going on here. Dylan Holloway hasn't played a lot this year. Mostly because the World Juniors did indeed happen, which caused him to get pulled from the Badgers organization, stick it up with Team Canada, do the quarantine, which was here in Canada, and then spend a little bit more extra time not really playing because of other circumstances, pretty much. Yeah, he wasn't really the healthiest during the tournament. But for Dylan Holloway, he still was one of the hotter Wisconsin Badgers in terms of point production before he got pulled from that team and sent over across the border to quarantine. But he's back over here with an assist, kicking things off, and then you had yourselves what was Cole Caufield just a little bit later, getting himself on the board too. He sends it over to the blue line, Tyler Inamoto is there, he grips it, he rips it, it's in the back of the net. And then you had yourselves yesterday's game, where things came alive for Wisconsin, scoring 5 goals against Arizona State once again, and winning this one 5-2. This one saw a few other great performances. Dylan Holloway feeds Linus Weissbach on the power play in the first period, so there's another assist there. And then just a few seconds later, Dylan Holloway also on the power play feeds Cole Caufield wing to wing. Caufield grips it, Caufield rips it, it's in the back of the net, the guy has another goal. Then you had Cole Caufield just in the next period assisting on a Mike Vorlicki goal. And now if you take a look at the total points for these guys, Dylan Holloway in 6 games played has a total of 2 goals, 3 assists for 5 total points. Very nice performance over there for the sophomore here in Wisconsin. Again, that number is significantly reduced in the games played category because the guy just wasn't really playing. He had other important things to attend to. And then you had Cole Caufield, who in 14 games played is over a point per game with 17 points, 8 goals, and 9 assists on the year. And because we have the rest of the Badgers schedule going over until the middle of March, what will be another 14-ish games played, let's go and excite ourselves because we have so much more highlights to look forward to between Dylan Holloway, Oilers guy, and Caufield, a Montreal Canadiens guy. I would not be surprised if either of these guys made their NHL teams at the end of the season by the time their NCAA seasons wrap up. Maybe they sign a contract, they start playing right away. Obviously, there's going to have to be a 2-week quarantine period or whatever because Wisconsin is in America and Edmonton and Montreal, spoiler alert, they're Canadian cities. So who knows if it's actually worth the struggle, especially taking into consideration stuff like contract years, ELCs, RFA status, and all that stuff. There's a lot of mumbo-jumbo that goes around, but at the end of the day, these are both top-tier NHL caliber prospects. We saw that at the World Juniors. We're seeing that again here on display with Wisconsin. But I want you to talk to me in the comments what you think about either of these guys. Dylan Holloway, Cole Caufield coming back over here, getting some assists. Holloway hasn't had a goal yet, but he has been doing his part, scoring all those assists, and getting them apples. As for Caufield, hey, he's at 2 goals in the return, also with a few assists as well. Great to see right there for the 5'7". I think he's 5'8" now, I'm not really too sure. Montreal Canadiens right-wing sniper. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below what you think. So, 99, and bye.